Good morning, everyone. Here in the room and on Zoom, thank you for coming. We all have our own practice. You know? You're doing something, otherwise I assume you wouldn't be here, however formal or informal. Some awareness do you bring to your activity. Now let's look at meditation just, kind of like lightly or briefly. There's different ways to instruct it. In Zen, you might be told to count your breath or just follow your breathing. Or label your experience mindfully. That could be in another tradition, But in my view, the most important instruction, where all this leads to, sort of, is what I would call, what I like to describe as allow your experience to be exactly what it is at this time. Uncorrected mind. Just whatever happens. You are aware of it though, there's a wakefulness in the midst of your noticing what's happening. That's a big difference because of course everything is always just happening, but we may not be noticing it. This allowing of your experience to be exactly what it is at this time, this is the quality of big mind. I don't use that term very much. It's but if you are familiar with Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, Suzuki Roshi's, I think it's correct, famous book. It's very well known in the Buddhist world. He talks about big mind all the time. Big mind and small mind. When you bring attention to your breathing in this way of allowing your experience to be exactly what it is, you don't try to manipulate the breath in any particular way. You're making a mind in which the breath can happen, occur, take place, unfold on its own accord. Now, speaking about it sounds kind of easy, but if you have any experience with meditation, you know how hard it is to not develop certain ideas or preferences about how your mind or your body is supposed to behave or act. So, when your mind is busy or anxious, or you have certain feelings, sometimes thought loops or something, you want them to be. You want this to be different. You want calmness, or you don't want to be bothered by this, or you want this feeling to end. You want to have a different feeling. You want to be happy. So actually, to allow your experience to be exactly what it is at this time without interfering, without trying to manipulate, is pretty radical and difficult. It takes practice. Suzuki Roshi gives this image of a large spacious meadow. He says, if you want to control your cow, give it a large spacious meadow. That's the best way to control it. It's a wonderful image, I think. But the sense of control there is very paradoxical, because control means something like you want to be in command of the outcome of something, right? Something like that. And to say, when you give something a large spacious meadow, this cow, that can now just wander anywhere, well then you're not in control of the outcome. The cow may go off in any direction. Like in Utah, when we do the wild Dharma trips, this is not just, where we do the wild Dharma trips, but, all over the state it seems like the cows are just wandering wherever. Like, how do you get them back at all? I don't know. So let's say this is the quality of big mind, taking the fence away, or don't put the cow on the leash. Don't put a cow on the leash, right? But anyway, put it in a stable where it's like in one place. You can milk the cow, you can feed the cow. It doesn't, it's in control. So big mind is in opposition to small mind. And small mind is, our self referential way of relating to anything that appears in the world. So I have thoughts about something, I have preferences, I don't want this to happen, I want that to happen. This process of the mind producing ideas and thoughts and feelings and emotions about something that supposedly is outside, that's small mind. So this is also small mind as the mind that we live in all the time. So meditation practice is to begin to relate to this small mind with big mind, with the quality of big mind. And I'm trying it this way. You can initiate that by allowing your experience, your thoughts, your feelings, whatever it is, to be exactly what they are, the experience to be exactly what it is at this time. Many people, maybe everybody, I think everybody comes to practice with the idea of trying to improve something. I want to meditate because my mind is so busy and I want to have a calm mind. I am experiencing some anxiety and I hope that meditation will deliver this state of mind where I'm not anxious. I feel like a very selfish person and I want to be more compassionate and serve other people, and I hope meditation will deliver that somehow. So you want to If you have a busy mind and you want a calm mind, then when these events of small mind occur, you develop a relationship to those events and you want them to stop. You want to make those thoughts go away. It's very important to recognize that this is the wrong approach. Because when you try to do something about what's happening in your mind, you create more small mind. You see? So paradoxically, when you make a large spacious meadow, when you invite the quality of big mind, you let everything come. You let the thoughts come, you let those feelings come. And by letting them come, that's the way you let them go. When you say, I want to let go of this, and your feeling is, I want to get rid of it, that's not letting go. Letting go is done by letting it come. Because when you let it come, it can stop on its own. If you let your feeling of anxiety come, then it can stop. If you resist it, it may persist. Actually, that's it's said, right? What you resist persists. Because it's like, it doesn't have a space, you don't make space for it, so then it has to knock at the door harder. If you let it in, then it can deliver its message, and then it can also go. So this is quite paradoxical, because as long as we're stuck in our small mind, it's very difficult to see how that which we don't want at all needs to be allowed. Very difficult to see. By the way, when we say mind, most people, I think of the mind as inside the skull. Now, if you broaden your view a little bit, maybe you include the body and you don't say like, oh, the mind is in the skull and the body is down here. Maybe you accept that the body and the mind are not separate. They actually are an undivided event. So maybe the mind includes the body, but it's still inside. One definition you could use for big mind is includes everything. So it's not just like internal mental events that are included in big mind, but everything. Like just this room right now. There's certain people in this room right now, right? We are in this room. And not others. And in big mind, that's just something that we accept. That's just the way it is. That's what the situation is, and we allow it to be the way it is. We can just make up a situation where we don't like that somebody isn't in the room. They should be here, but they happen to not come. Or, there's some underlying conflict and the person isn't here because something is unresolved. And then, immediately, you're in small mind. It's like, this is not how it should be. The dinosaurs are not here. And supposedly, I've heard, the dinosaurs went extinct when an asteroid hit planet Earth. And only because the asteroid hit planet Earth, we are here. If the asteroid had hit planet Earth, the dinosaurs would have continued and dominated the Earth and the food chain, and we wouldn't be here. So, I don't know, are we complaining that the dinosaurs are not here? Are we complaining that an asteroid hit the Earth? No, I think we just accept that this is what it is right now. So actually, the death of the dinosaurs and the asteroid hitting the Earth are part and parcel of us being here. This is not something we usually feel. So I think it's quite interesting. It's like, because so many people have died, now back to humans, because so many humans have died, we are now here. And yet we resist this birth and death process very much. We don't want certain people to die, and we maybe don't want to die ourselves and make space for others. And we don't want another asteroid to hit the Earth, and we are resisting the climate crisis that threatens our existence and the existence of other life forms. In Big Mind, I'm just taking it a step further now from Zazen, where we're maybe involved with our own, internal processes. Big Mind is opening up to all of that. It is just as it is. Now, Suzuki Roshi also makes a big point. He says, small mind is included in big mind too. You see? It's actually what we're practicing. It's like if you have certain feelings or thoughts, you are making space for them. You're giving them a large meadow. So they're included. So it's funny, is that there's this opposition. When we practice, we want to shift from small mind to big mind. And then, when you have the feeling, if you're familiar with the quality of big mind, you need to let small mind be included. Small mind, you could say, is our humanness. It's our preferences. I often think, without World War II, there wouldn't be any European Union. I'm from Europe, so this is maybe closer to me than to you, but there's never been peace in Europe for 75 years. I'm thinking from 1945 till, 2020 roughly, so I call it 75 years. And there was a war in Yugoslavia, and there's a war in Ukraine now. But let's just say maybe Western Europe to make this statement accurate, but it's not about historical accuracy right now. Without World War II, I think the nations of Western Europe wouldn't have come together to create a union that ensures peace for 75 years, because the destruction was so immense and the suffering was so grave that enough people felt it was time to do something different. So this peace is very much dependent on the war. And yet, in our small mind, we really don't want war of this magnitude, or the war that is happening right now. So, the freedom and also peace, the freedom and peace of Zen practice is to do everything with the attitude of big mind. And to include our humanness in it. You can get stuck on both sides. You can, we all start out being stuck in our small mind. And it creates a lot of suffering because it's like it's a wrestling match with the world at all times, This idea that freedom is that I get what I want, or that, if I could just do the things that suit me and there wasn't interference from other people, then I would be free. This is just where everybody is and starts. And then you start to practice, because this suffering is, at some point, to us, I think, as practitioners, it just becomes intolerable. It's like, it can't go on like this. So then you open up to the quality of big mind. Then we can develop the idea that somehow if we develop this feeling for big mind, that we can transcend our humanness. That thoughts would just stop, or we wouldn't have certain feelings, or we wouldn't react emotionally, and this would all calm down, and then we are even keeled all the time and accept everything. But that's a different way to be stuck. That's like, having no objection to the war in Ukraine. It's like, well, it's not just happening. Climate change, well, who cares, There will be other life forms. So, it's interesting. We need that quality. We need that quality very much of accepting what's happening. And also acknowledge and to some degree even affirm our humanness. Do everything to stop this. Stand by, what your preference and what your need is. It's very paradoxical when you think about it. To develop some kind of feeling, of fluidity that is where acceptance and picking something up and doing it is not a contradiction. There's a lecture that I'm becoming very fond of that Suzuki Roshi gave in 1971, the year he died. And I brought it up during our recent sesshin in various ways. And he talks about a koan there that uses the image of picking up one speck of dust. The line says, when you pick up one speck of dust, the nation will flourish. If you don't, the nation will perish. The nation is, let's say society. If you do something, if you pick up one speck of dust, the society will do well. If you don't do anything, it will perish. But it also means starting a temple or a practice group or something. And in this image of a speck of dust is very open in a way. It's confusing. Maybe what does it mean to pick up a speck of dust? But from the point of view of big mind, this Zendo is a speck of dust. It's just, like, it's maybe very important to some of us, like, making the Boulder Zen Center, but it really is a speck of dust. And from the point of view of the dinosaurs and the asteroid and climate crisis, And yet, if you don't pick up a speck of dust, the nation will perish. Suzuki Roshi says that this integration, flexible, fluid, it's a feeling of big mind and small mind. He says that's the great mind. It's funny, big mind, small mind, great mind. It's just words. But if you don't use them, if you don't pick up a speck of dust, if you don't put something out, you can't speak about it. The meaning of this is not in the words. The meaning of it is in the way we inhabit our minds. There's some other theme in this lecture that I'm referencing by Suzuki Roshi, where he says, the purpose of Buddhism is not to establish Buddha's teaching and support Buddhist groups. It is but it's to help people find their own way when they're not able to find their own way. The purpose of Buddhism is to help people find their own way when they're not able to find their own way. Later he says something like, the right human life. It's quite something, If somebody came to me and said, I have the right human life to teach, it's like, I would get scared. It's like, the right human life? You know what it is and you're going to tell me to lead it? But it's interesting here. It's like, first he says, to help people find their own way. Finding your own way is the right human life. And maybe what we could say, now that I've thrown out these terms with Suzuki Roshi, Roshi's and Buddhism's help, the right human life is to develop great mind. This integration of big mind and our humanness. I feel funny because maybe it sounds too abstract, but it's like, yes, you're an emotional being, so when you are emotional, you allow that to be exactly how it is. And you don't take it too seriously at the same time. If you see, you can just be emotional and take it very seriously, and then you get tired of your own beingness, and then you feel like, oh, it's time to practice. This can't go on like this. But you could get stuck in this other way, this idea where you want to get rid of all your emotions, and then your life, what's your life then, you know? So to be an emotional being without being too stuck in it, you see what that's a vision. I had a dream the other day. I was part of this. This is kind of medieval, you know. So I'm part of this group of warriors, and our mission is to take control militarily, you know, violently, take control of this district inside of a big city. I mean, it's like we were looking, and it's like the city reaches to the horizon, but we're just supposed to take control of this little part, but we have to go through a gate, and as we were going through the gate, immediately we're getting attacked by these guards, and you know, it's like sword fighting. And I get to fight with this Goliath of a warrior, you know, it's like, and I'm very confident. It's like, I'm just going to kill this guy. And so we're fighting, but I have no chance. Like, I get killed. There's a little bit of fighting, but then I'm just getting killed, you know, with this sword that goes through my body. And the next morning I was sitting zazen, and some of the images came back, and also the feeling, most importantly the feeling. And the feeling was scared, and I'm scared to die as this fight is happening. And then also, as it happens, as, you know, I'm dreaming my own death, it's like, as it happens, I'm quite relieved to die. It's like, it's not a terrible feeling. And so I'm feeling both, you know, I'm feeling fear and relief. And now I'm relating it sort of to this talk, but I actually don't understand. I don't understand what the dream means or where it comes from, but right now I think I'm just telling you that in Zazen, with this quality of big mind, I was allowing the images to be there, the feelings, the feeling, the simultaneity of fear and relief. No problem. I mean, if I think about it, it's not reconcilable. If I'm relieved and fearful at the same time, it doesn't. But from the point of view of big mind and small mind, makes a lot of sense, you know. We don't want to die, and it's okay to die. Both true. So then, Suzuki Roshi says the true purpose of Buddhism is to help create, I paraphrase slightly, help create a world in which there is no need for Buddhism. I love that. Also, I don't understand why, but it seems very true to me. It's like Buddhism belongs to small mind. It's like we make the Zendo, we establish forms, we say, you know, you got to practice this way, do it right, you know. When you find your own way, you can drop Buddhism. It's not about Buddhism. It's not about starting Buddhist groups or establishing Buddhist teaching. But Suzuki Roshi also says, when you think you don't need this kind of training, you are a fool. Or a very selfish person. He says, better to be a fool than a selfish person. Ha ha. When you think that you don't have to pick up a speck of dust, when you think you don't have to practice, when you think you don't have to count your breath and follow your breath and study your mind and interact with your emotions and understand what's going on and wrestle with this process of establishing the quality of big mind, you can't have that kind of freedom, period. You can't. You don't have to practice Buddhism. You can pick up a different speck of dust and, make a different practice happen in your life. But to think that you don't need training then you're just a fool. Oh, I can just live the way I do and no problem. Well, actually, it doesn't make you a bad person. You just suffer. It's fine. Suffer more. It doesn't make you a bad person. It's just, it's like, sometimes I think, when people think about enlightenment, you think if there's an enlightened person, it's a better person or something. No, it's just not. It's not a better person. It's just an enlightened person who doesn't suffer. I actually don't like to think in extremes, so you could just say an enlightened person who suffers less. Not a better person. So we make some practice happen, knowing that it's also limiting. Knowing that some people will object and say, like, oh, Buddhism, I don't care, or, oh, you're too rigid, you Zen people. I want to drink cappuccino. I don't want to sit for long hours. It's fine. So if we get lost in the formality of things, in Zen, that's a danger. If you get lost in the rigidity or formality of your practice, that's a problem. So we need to remind ourselves where I started. The most important thing is to practice, but in a way that invites the quality of big mind. Allowing your own mental events, the events of the world, and then to also include your humanness into it. Picking up a speck of dust, doing this, opposing that. This is you could say this is the topic of the Genjo Koan, this most important text maybe in our lineage, Dogen's writing the Genjo Koan. The Koan lived in life, every moment. Right now I've unfolded it as both the seeming contradiction and also the integration of big mind and small mind. So-called big mind and small mind. Thank you very much.